Hello friends, welcome back to the Python programming session. In today's session, let's look into one of the most important built-in functions available in Python programming language. And in today's session, let's cover enumerate. Enumerate is a built-in function available in Python programming language. So what does this enumerate function do? So enumerate, it adds a counter by looping into when we are looping in the for loop, or when we want to print the list, it adds a counter to the iterable, to the items in the iterable. So it is a built-in function which adds a counter to an iterable and returns an enumerating object. So suppose, let me say for example, I'm having my list 1 which is equal to A, B, C, D. These are the items in the list 1. And while looping into the list 1, I want to have a counter value, counter value. Say for 1 is for A, 2 is for B, 3 is for C, 4 is for D. So I want to have a counter value. Or let me take 0 is for A, 1 is for B, 2 is for C, 3 is for D. So I want to know for the first iteration what is the value, for the second iteration what is the value, for the 0th iteration what is the value. So I want to keep track of the counter as well, not only the items in the list, but I want a counter as well. So we can use enumerate function in such scenarios because it adds a counter to an iterable and returns an enumerating object. So in such cases, in order to get this particular output, we go for the enumerate built-in function. And what is the syntax? In syntax for the enumerate is enumerate, and within parenthesis we have to provide the iterable and the start value. Start value is optional. It's not necessary that we have to provide this value. It's optional. By default, start value takes a value equal to 0. So if we do not provide the start value, by default it will take 0 as the start value. So we have to pass an iterable and start. Start is optional. If we don't provide, it will take 0 as the start value. Having known all these points about the enumerate function, let's quickly look into some examples. Suppose I am having a list called fruits, which is having apple, orange, grapes, and then pineapple. So these are the fruits which is present in the fruits list. Now, how do I use the enumerate function? So for this, let me say x equal to enumerate, and the iterable which I am passing in this case is my fruits list, and I don't pass any start value. So by default it will take from 0 as the start value, counter from 0. Now if I say print, this x will have an enumerate object. X will have an enumerate object, and if we say list of x, it will give the output in the list format. So list of this particular enumerating object will give the output in the list format. So in this particular case, it will give it in a list format, the output. The tuples having the counter and the item, counter, item, counter, item, counter and item. So since I have not given my start value, it will take 0 as the start value. So counter is 0 and the item is apple. So it will give it in the tuple format. This is one tuple. And for the next item, it will have 1 as the count value. It will increment by 1 because the iteration is the first. This is the 0th iteration. This is the first iteration. So it will have the count value as 1 and the item will be orange. And in the second count value, it will have grapes. And in the third value, it will have pineapple. And will be enclosed in a list. It's a list of tuples where each item has been associated with a count value. Since we have not provided any start value, it will take from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. So we can keep track of the number of iterations in the iterable. So there are 4 iterations, 0, 1, 2, 3. 4 iterations are there in this particular iterable, and we can keep track with 0, 1, 2 and then 3. Now, suppose I give my start value, comma, 100. If I give 100 as the start value, then what happens to my output? So it will start the count from 100th value. It's not 0, it will start from 100th value, 101, 102 and then 103. So my output will be in this particular format. So we can give the index or the start value or the counter as we wish. If we want 0, we can just give, we need not provide any value. If we want a value other than 0, we can provide that value and it will increment from that particular value. So this is how the enumerate function works in Python programming language. And now let's see, by looping into the enumerate object, how we get the output. Looping with enumerate object. Suppose we have characters, CHAR. It's a list having Z, Y, X, P, T. So this is my list character having these particular items. Now for item in enumerate, and I have to pass the character as a iterable to this particular function. Print item. So when I give this particular statement, character is my list comprising of 5 characters. Then I am looping each character one at a time. Initially my item will be having Z. So I am passing the enumerate function and for looping through the enumerate object. So it is enumerate and the list in this case is character. So I am passing char as the iterable. And now if I say print item, if it was just char, it would have printed Z, Y, X, P and T. Now I am giving enumerate function. So what will be the output? The output will be in the tuple format 0, comma, Z, 1, comma, Y, 2, comma, X, 3, comma, P, 4, comma, T. So this is the output which we get. Item will be initially counter and then the iterable. The item in the iterable. So it will be counter, item in the iterable, counter, item in the iterable, counter, item in the iterable. So it will go on in this particular manner. So our output would be in this particular way. Since there are 2 items, one is counter and one is the item. So next let us see how the for loop work, how the for loop for, let me say, counter or count, comma item. Let me have two values. We also saw it in dictionary by having two values, that is key and value. In the same way, over here also let us say count and item. In enumerate character, print count, comma item. Now what will be the output? So count is still counter, we have not, start value we have not specified. So it will start from 0 and then item is Z. And then counter is 1, item is Y. Counter is X, counter is 2, item is X. Counter is 3, item is P. Counter is 4, item is T. So here it won't give it in the tuple format. It will just give the counter value and then the item value. Counter, item. Count. Since we are using two variables. If we used only count item, then it would have given it to us in the tuple format. Now we are given two variables and we are printing those two variables individually. So it will give 0 Z, 1 Y, 2 X, 3 P, 4 T. So this would be the output. Now in this enumerate function, let me change my start value. Let me start it from 200. So what would be the output? What will be the count and what will be the item? So only this particular thing changes. It starts from 200, increments to 201, 202, 203 and then 204. So at any point of time, if we want to know what is the counter value associated with each of the items in the iterable, we can use the enumerate built-in function. So it comes in handy in such scenarios. So we need not have a variable increment the count value and then display the count value. It will automatically increment the value for each of the iterations. And also it's flexible because we can give our own start value. It can start from 200, 500, any value, and if we don't specify anything, it will start from 0. So these are the benefits of using enumerate or built-in function in Python programming language. So friends, if you have any doubts, please do reach to me out in the comment section. If you like my video, click on the like button and please do subscribe to get notifications of my new videos. Till then, see you. Bye bye.